should have this packet, and if you have more than one child at your school, you need enough for many children. So is anyone missing a packet? Another packet? Okay, I'll get started. My name is Marilyn Woodside. I'm the Director of Curriculum Instruction and Technology for the district. Generally, I'm in all the schools and in the central office, and it would usually be Ann Ellis, your principal here, with this. But as you know, Ann had a mountain climbing accident, and although she's back, she's on sort of a wheeling contraption that would make it hard for her to get around. And so she says hello to everyone, and she's certainly in the office today. But I'm here for this meeting. And I'm going to be speaking. Seth Cole will be speaking. He is our technologist for the school. I'm sure all your children know Seth because he works grades 4 to 8 on the laptops in the classrooms. We also have Kristen O'Neill coming to speak. She is the 7th, 8th grade guidance counselor, and she'll talk a little bit about internet safety. Talking about these laptops, they are brand new, right out of the box, never been used. So it means they have no scratches, no dents, no dings, no spills, no food on them, nothing. So they're really in mint condition. And when we release them and when we either buy them out or have to send them back, like we had to send last year's back, we didn't have a choice. Apple wanted to do a refresh. They have to go back without dings or dents or scratches, or we get charged for them. So, and what happens as well is, this sounds rather strange, but Seth, our technologist, and I had to go to Apple training last year for an afternoon to see what was acceptable as a dent or a ding or a scratch and what wasn't. And so that was a fascinating afternoon, but we certainly learned a lot about what Apple would take back and what would be charged for. So sometimes when you get charged for something, it's not directly coming from us. We have to assess it. We send it in and they'll tell us acceptable or not acceptable. And so that's where that comes from. If you notice, you will notice, your students this year all have a cover for their laptop. And all different arrays of colors. If your student doesn't, we ran out of about 5 because we had quite a few families who were in, but they should be here today or tomorrow so that every student will have one of these covers, and I'll explain about that today. And just as I'm talking, I'm sorry, my back is here. Just as I'm talking about keeping these laptops safe, just as important is keeping your studentship safe in the use of these laptops. And so that's why Kristen will talk a little bit about internet safety and the difference between what can happen at the school with the laptop and what's open at home that you might want to know about. And she also holds later in the year an internet safety night for parents if you want more in-depth information about that. But we first and foremost see these as an educational tool, and they're used widely for not just word processing, but a lot of presentation work, research, and all of that. And we want to make sure we are able to keep these laptops. I think we feel very fortunate that the taxpayers, the school committee support the laptop program. I know in many districts, they've moved towards iPads, but now the schools are regretting that and trying to switch back to a MacBook Air because they can't do enough for what they want in their classroom. Same thing, some people have gone with Chromebooks, but with that doesn't come the wireless from the state of Maine, and they too now wish that they could go back to the MacBook Air. We're trying to keep the program, it's all up to the state of Maine, and our governor every year has to decide that he's going to allow the funding for it, and we pay some as well. These from the state at a good cost. So anyway, that's my introduction. After this, you should have in your packet the insurance letter option form, Shapleigh laptop rules, and internet safety agreement, and a little bit about internet safety. After this meeting, students will be taking their laptops home. 4 things have to happen. You have to attend the meeting, and you're here, thank you very much. There's a test given in class about their their laptops, and students who were 7th grade last year, 8th grade this year, you pretty much know the test. And you can take it any number of times. It's not a difficult test, it's kind of basic on the use and care of a laptop. The insurance premium needs to be paid. If it's not, and if you're not paying full today or by Monday, at least half of the premium needs to be paid, and you'll see the insurance company gave us many options this year, which I think are far better than we used to have. And there can't be any fees owed from last year. And so with those 4 conditions, then the laptops go home, I think, starting Thursday or Friday of this week. Okay, Seth, Mr. Cole.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking time to be here. So, a couple things that I'd like to talk with you about are the general guidelines for laptop use for all students here at Shapleigh, not just our 7th and 8th grade students. These are the rules that apply school-wide, and as most of you know, every student here at the school uses their own laptop. We're a one-to-one school. The 4th through 6th graders have the white ones, which are old but still functional, and the 7th and 8th graders have these brand new devices. So I wanted to quickly run down through these laptop rules, not in their entirety. These same rules, I believe, are in your packet as well. And if you don't mind, just opening them up and you can look at it along with me. You can also look on the screen too. So, as a reminder, the student AUP, acceptable use policy, applies for laptop use, whether it's here, home, during vacations. That applies regardless, okay? Also, students, sometimes it's not always easy for us adults to keep this in mind as well. Educational tools first, and then gaming device, music device, something along those lines, a distant second, okay? We're not saying you can't, we're saying let's get your work done first, then seconds, okay? During the school day here, so the time you arrive at 7:15 or approximately that time, so the time you leave the school grounds, messaging, photo booth, Facebook, there should be no reason. Those are apps, they're default apps that Apple provides for these devices, which are appropriate in their own use, but there should be no reason here at school that you ever have it open. The staff member sees that you have it open, that can result in a laptop infraction. I'll get to the laptop infraction policy in just a minute, okay? But pretty straightforward, pretty clear. No messaging, no photo booth, no FaceTime, unless for some reason you get explicit instruction from a staff member that it's okay to use. Okay? At home, perhaps. Here now. You have the ability to download. So be wise in what you download. And if you have any questions, please ask an adult whether you think you should be downloading this or it's appropriate to download. And then the last bullet point on the appropriate use section, I think is well worded. Students should behave with integrity and civility at all times while using their laptop. As we go down the list, I already have a laptop infraction as I have my coffee mug next to my laptop. No food or drink near the laptop is what we try to do, and what I should probably do is this. We already have had one instance of liquid damage this year with one of these new laptops, and pretty straightforward how liquid and electronics don't mix well. So here at school, we do a decent job of following that. At home, it might be a little different depending on where you use the laptop, when you use the laptop. Using it on a kitchen table may not be the best spot, or using it during dinner time may not be the wisest decision. Just to think those through a little bit. Let's get in the habit, and we try to start with the 4th grade, so hopefully it's ingrained in you. Let's get in the habit of transporting these laptops in those protective cases, which will protect them. And as you students know, they're actually rather snug when they fit in here. It will protect it rather well. But let's not just carry the laptop to and from, you know, in the hallways here at 2:10 during the day or at 7:20 in the morning. It can get chaotic, it can get bumped, you may trip and fall. Let's just get in the habit of putting the laptop in the case, carrying the case to your next destination, then taking it out there. The extra 5 seconds could save you paying a $100 deductible. One bullet point, I'll skip down to most of the way down where it says everything. A lot of things are covered with these laptops, but the power adapters or chargers are not covered. So you bring that charger home, you have a feisty cat that chews through the cord. That's not covered under the insurance, and therefore you would have to pay for a new power adapter. And you perhaps could go on Amazon or eBay and find something cheaper than $79, but the contract says that we need to purchase power adapters and accessories through Apple at the cost of $79. So, sort of spelling that out there to you now that if there is damage that's not deemed accidental or no fault of your own, then if it's something that's intentional or something along those lines, that the fee for the damage charger is $79. That came up in the last cycle. Just wanted to sort of spell that out there as well. I didn't say it well.
Just a little bit on the chargers.
Yes.
The insurance covers everything but the chargers, as Seth said. And there's an exception to that. Apple will replace the charger if there's something defective about the charger itself, or sometimes where the wire goes into the little box there, sometimes that gets loose or it comes out or something. They'll replace it then. If it's their device that's defective in some way or doesn't wear well, then they will definitely give us for free a new charger. What they won't cover ever is if, and this does happen, believe it or not, a pet chews the charger, the wire, that they won't cover. Sometimes people run over it with one of those chairs on wheels, and it starts to fray. They won't cover that either. So most of the frays, they don't. And they're pretty specific about that. And when we return the laptops, we also have to return the entire charging device. And so, just so you're aware of that. For the most part, we don't have a lot of trouble. Believe it or not, the most thing we have are people or pets chewing.
Sure. And as you know, these are new devices, so the charger should be fully functional now as well. No one has used it until now. I've also assigned a charger to a specific student, matched them up with a serial number. So students are made aware of this, but the charger that they're given, that's the charger, and I know that's their charger. So if a different charger comes back towards the end of the year, I'll have known that yours may have been lost or something got transferred. So try to keep good track of your charger specifically. A good rule of thumb might be to keep them at home once you're allowed to bring them home. Further down the list, really important just to report all issues with your laptop to a staff member, whether it's a classroom teacher, homeroom teacher, or myself, whether it's something wrong with the laptop, something that you have seen, something maybe that a place you went to that maybe wasn't a wise decision. It's best to be transparent about the process and to report that to some adults, and Mrs. O'Neill will speak a little bit further about internet safety with you in a few minutes. So the last line here says breaking these rules results in laptop infractions. We've had this laptop infraction policy in place now for a couple of years, and it's gone fairly well. I can say pretty clearly that 7th grade seems to be the class that has the most laptop infractions. There can be a number of reasons for that, but you do have this brand new device that's different than what you had as a 6th grader, and 7th graders might try to test the limits and from time to time cross the limits. what you can and cannot do. So if one of these rules is broken, you get first laptop infraction, which is just a warning, but subsequent infractions result in further consequences. It might be a call home to one of you saying that I received another laptop infraction. It might be a meeting with your classroom teacher, or myself, Ms. Beach, Mrs. Ellis. Further down the line, you might lose laptop privileges for a period of time if we deem it necessary. So hopefully you don't cross that, but something that has worked well these last couple of years and is in effect again for this school. Any questions? Okay. Turn it over to Kristen now?
Sure.
Wonderful. Great.
Kristen O'Neill will talk a little bit about internet safety, and if you probably all know, Kristen is our 6th, 7th, 8th grade school counselor.
Thank you. All right, so one of the things that a lot of, that may be news to parents is, or sometimes it's a confusion with parents, is the parental controls that are set up at home are specific to each family. And so we're gonna talk a little bit about what that should look like. Here at school, we keep our internet very closely monitored, and we have a lot of supports in place for students to help them make good choices online, but we also have a lot of sites blocked. And Mr. Cole does a really great job of continuously updating the list of all the sites that we have blocked. So anything that may not be school appropriate or maybe have questionable things on it, we block them here so students can't access them. And we have that set up through our internet. It's not specific to each student's laptop. So one thing that is important for students to know and for parents to know with these laptops going home, as soon as that laptop is hooked up to your at-home internet, it does not have any of those securities in place. So those are things that you'll have to look for to set up on your own. And a lot of you may know how to do that. You may already have these types of things in place. But if you don't, there is on the sheet that is in your packet, it's the internet safety sheet. There's a list of helpful websites. One of the websites that's listed is opendns.com, I believe it is. And that site is actually what we use to protect our internet here. And so that's something that you can check out and to see if it's something that you might want to use at home to help protect your internet at home and to block certain sites or put securities in place. So that's a helpful website. There's a number of other websites on that, and I'll talk about what those websites do and what they can offer. But there are, in addition to just making sure your internet is secure, there's a lot of other things you can do to keep your students safe online. One of the best things you can do is talk about things ahead of time. And a lot of times that conversation is difficult to have, and usually it happens after something not so good happens, because you don't think of it until there's a concern on the internet. So we really encourage families to have this conversation, especially with these laptops going home. Have a conversation ahead of time about how you're going to deal with certain situations that may come up. And another resource that's in your packet for you is an internet safety agreement, or it's like a contract, I think it's called. And that is to make sure it's really clear, that's optional. It's not something that you have to complete with your student and return to us. That's something for you as a resource to have that conversation. So it asks questions about where the laptop's going to be kept, what sites are going to be allowed for the student, and it goes through a number of different things that helps facilitate that conversation about how you'll handle different things online. So that's a really helpful resource for you. The other thing you can do is keep the laptop in a public place. So a lot more, now that we have laptops being much more prevalent in the home, rather than one shared desktop that sits in your living room, those laptops typically are a little bit more private. Students use them in their bedrooms, or they use them away from parents. One thing you can do is have an agreement about you're going to use your laptop here in the living room, and then it's going to stay out here when you go to bed at night. Or when you're using your laptop, you'll use it in the dining room. But maybe you can have that discussion about where the laptop's going to be used at home. And that just allows you to know if the student's on a certain site or doing something online, you're aware of it or you're around and you can have a little bit more supervision. That can be helpful. The other thing, while I'm talking about this, having this conversation ahead of time, a lot of students. So we did a survey. Let me back up. We did a survey last year for our 4th grade all the way through 8th grade last year, and we asked students about their internet use, and we asked about a lot of questions in terms of internet safety and how students feel about going on sites online, if they feel safe, if they've ever experienced something uncomfortable or that made them nervous online, and students were very honest in the survey. We found that there were a lot of things that surprised us, but one of the biggest things that surprised us is when we asked students what they would do or who they would turn to if something online made them feel uncomfortable or they felt unsafe online, we asked who would they turn to. And 84, I'll give you the exact stat, so 84.4% of our students said the first thing they would do was turn to a parent. So a lot of parents think my kids aren't going to want to talk about the internet, or they're not going to want to tell me what they're doing online. But we're finding that students want to have that conversation, and they oftentimes need a parent to be there for them if something happens where they feel uncomfortable online. And with the internet, it's interesting because a lot of times it's one-on-one interactions. It's a student online on a website, or maybe they're on a social media site and they're interacting with an individual or maybe a group of individuals. And unlike a face-to-face interaction, there's not often people around to witness it or to support that person. So having that conversation allows the student to not feel so alone and feel like they have to deal with whatever happened online by themselves. So have a conversation about when your child does, or if they experience something online that makes them uncomfortable. Talk about what they'll do. Give them options. Say, you can come talk to me. It doesn't mean I'm going to take away your internet, or I'm not going to take away your laptop or your cell phone, but have a discussion about what that would look like and what you can do to support them. And it's easier to have that ahead of time instead of after something already happened. The other thing you can do, a lot of our students are using social media sites, and it's really tough, even for us that work in the school and hear about this stuff all the time. It's tough to keep up with all the different social media sites. So on the commonsensemedia.com, so that website that's also listed on that sheet, they have a very thorough list of all the sites that are out there and what students are using. They give you the age restrictions for those sites. So Facebook, you're supposed to be, I believe it's 13 to use it. Instagram, you're supposed to be 13 to use it. Something like WhatsApp is a big one now. You're supposed to be 16. So these are age restrictions that the site puts out there. Common Sense Media does a really great job of describing the site, giving you the age restriction, and also talking about different concerns or things that could potentially happen on that site. So it's a worthy conversation to look at what sites your son or daughter is using and talk about the different dangers or different things that could come up because of that using that site. A lot of those sites are, I would say probably all of them, are password protected. You may want to have those passwords shared with you. And so your son or daughter has complete access to their site, and maybe they have their own account, but as a parent, you should have that password. And that allows for you to help support your son or daughter making good choices on that site. One really great idea that I heard recently is having all the passwords for each of those sites that are used on one piece of paper, put them in a sealed envelope, put them in an agreed upon location, so maybe it's in an envelope and it's on your fridge. And the agreement with your son or daughter is that we aren't going to open that envelope, and I won't look at your password. I don't even need to check your site unless I have a concern. And then if you have a concern or there's a reason that you think something might not be happening that's so great on that site, then you can open the envelope. And that allows your son or daughter to feel like they've got that trust, but also allows you the option, if you need it, to have access to the site. So that's just one idea and one of those things you can discuss and decide as a family. Because Because again, all these things that your student can access on their laptop is not going to be protected once they bring the laptop outside of school. All these social media sites are blocked here at school. At home, it's up to you. So Common Sense Media, that's a really great site for you. There's another internet safety site that's listed on there that gives you a lot of great ideas and things to think about. The last thing I want to touch on is the amount of time that all of us spend on technology is increasing by the day. And a lot of research and studies that have come out recently have pointed to the damage or the repercussions that can happen when you spend too much time online. And we are finding that when we surveyed students last spring, and even just conversations that we have with students, we know students are on these laptops a lot of time, and they're on their phones a lot of the time. So one thing to hopefully help monitor and talk about is how much time is an okay time to spend on that device. It's really important also that before students are going to bed, they're getting off their device at least 30 minutes before they're trying to fall asleep. The reason for that is because a lot of studies have shown that your brain continues to fire even after you close your device. And so if you are trying to fall asleep and you had just put down your phone, it's going to take your brain a lot longer to slow down and to allow yourself to get to sleep and get restful sleep. So one thing that it's a good habit for everyone to get in is 30 minutes before bed, the devices are off, laptops, phones, gaming, any of that, so the device is off, so that allows you to get restful sleep. Because we know as teenagers how important getting a solid night's sleep is. And also, when we do internet safety, or when we do internet or laptop searches, where we try to look at how, the history of when students are using their laptops, we are often blown away at the amount of time students are on their laptop, but also what time of day they're on their laptop until. We've had, laptops that we've looked at their history, and students are on their laptop at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. or 12:30, and it's really surprising that, or maybe I should say it's not so surprising when we find that those are the same students that struggle or having a rough morning or, are having trouble, staying awake in class, because it's hard to stay awake in class or to be alert in school when you're on your device until the wee hours of the morning. So that's one thing to, ahead of time, hopefully have a conversation about is, what's an appropriate time to get off that device, or, if you're gonna spend an hour on your laptop at night, then, we're gonna cut you off at an hour, but that's up to you as parents. As Mrs. Woodside had mentioned, we are gonna have an internet safety talk later on this school year. We haven't planned it or set a date yet, but keep an ear out, because we are gonna hopefully be getting a lot more information to you as parents in terms of internet safety and making sure we're keeping our students safe online.
Yep. Thank you, Kristen. Just to reemphasize, we do have a controlled environment here. We have filters, we have blocks, even with email. You can only email each other within the school environment. So you can email a teacher, you can be on Google Sites with a teacher, collective sites, you can email each other, but you can't email out to anybody. That is, of course, when you get home, a whole different story. And so it's a really controlled environment here. We can also look at the history of a computer. So sometimes what will happen is there could be an incident of either bullying once they're out of this environment. It could happen here too on the internet, depending on what they're sending. But whatever's going on the outside, when the computer comes back, we can see the history of where a student has been. And so, and the times that they were there and that type of thing. And that happens sometimes. We've had students download something that was copyrighted. It might be a movie from BigCon, and we actually have had calls from lawyers out in California wanting money because they broke the copyright. And we can go on that site and see exactly when they got on there, what they were downloading. And so that has happened. And again, it's mostly from what happens when they get out of this controlled environment. So just be aware and be careful of that, please. And we do, through the PTA and the Kittery Youth Committee, which I co-chair, we are showing on November 30th at the Star Theater in Kittery a documentary called Screen Agers. That is a documentary about students' use of all these devices and the times and some of the effects on that. So you'll be hearing some of that as well. Now, our last piece tonight, this afternoon, this morning, is about the insurance, the laptop insurance. This is the first year, and we have your insurance through Maine School Management, and that's what the school districts in the state of Maine have. And this is the first year that, well, first of all, the premiums went down, which is great. The second piece is you have the option for just a few dollars more. I sound like a salesman, but I'm really not. It's either like $13 or $14. If you pay that, you have a premium. So if you look at option A, you can pay a premium of $51, but if there's damage to the laptop, you have that $100 deductible. Or you can pay $64, $13 more, and if there's damage to the laptop and has to get in, there's no deductible, zero deductible. It's just amazing that we have that option. And so I know I have to insure mine as well, and I personally chose the option to pay the $13 more, and if something happens to my laptop, I don't have that $100 that I have to come up with at the middle of the end of the year. And so anyway, you'll see all your choices, and so you can pay today or pay on Monday with one lump sum. Or option B is that you can pay half on Monday or half today, and then half due November 7th. So you can pay in 2 parts or 1 part. You see all the options. There's something there that's a little different this year, and you'll see in addition contribution to defray the cost of the cover. The school, in the past, we sold the laptop covers, those bright colors, to students if they wanted. It was optional, and we charged them exactly what we were charged ourselves. This year, we decided to buy them for every student. Not that we really had the money, really tucked away for it, but by the end of this year, last year, when we knew that we were getting brand new laptops, we said it's worth the investment rather than chasing down lots of deductibles and all of that. And so we're asking, and there's no obligation, if you don't do this, we don't take the cover away. If you would like to contribute $6 towards the cost, we paid $13, and so we'll pay the 7 if you pay the 6. But again, if you don't want to, that's completely up to you. Again, we will not take those covers away. With those covers, they're not gonna, you still have to be careful with them, but they will stop the minor dings and dents that always are in controversy between you, us, Apple, and all of that. But, and again, the most damage we see often comes from spills. Please be careful with your liquids, particularly around your computers. That's it. What we're going to do now is set up some stations. Even if you're not paying today, I do need this top cover sheet because I have to let the insurance company know by Friday, and so I need a day to organize this, how many people are choosing the option with the deductible and how many without, and I have to send in serial numbers and asset tags. So I still need your option sheet. You can pay today. We had a session last night and most people chose to pay last night. Or you can send it in with your student fee tomorrow, Thursday, or the last day is Monday. Or however you want to do that. We're going to set up session stations. I'll be here